Welbeck Street W1, Smart, North London. 5 minutes in that direction, Oxford Circus. 20 vigorous minutes walking in that direction, the British Library and the Euston Road. A strange place, you might think, to talk about my book To Kill A Tsar, which is set in St. Petersburg, and Tsar Alexander II. But over the years, I've been up and down this road many, many times, and I hadn't realized until quite recently that until the revolution, this building was the old embassy, Russian embassy. There's not much there now to suggest a Russian presence, but inside, I've been told that the chapel still exists, the chapel where Russian embassy staff worshipped, and we've got permission to go and have a look at it. So this is it. So here we are, the old Russian chapel. It's a bit godless now, but you can still see some of the frescoes in the dome here. And the old icon screen, I think, would have been between these pillars here, the altar at the far end. It was here in 1874 that Tsar Alexander II came to worship. He was visiting London to cement relations between the two countries, but primarily, I think, to celebrate the marriage of his daughter, his only daughter, to Queen Victoria's son, the Duke of Edinburgh. But of course, you know, relations between the royal families and between Britain and Russia go back much further than that, to the court of Ivan the Terrible in the mid-16th century, when English merchants arrived seeking trading rights. And Ivan the Terrible was very keen on a sort of grand alliance between Russia and England, even proposed marriage to Queen Elizabeth I, although given his reputation even then, it's unlikely she would have given it very much thought. I've made programs on Ivan the Terrible, I made programs on Russia and interested in Russian history. But I think my interest in Anglo-Russian relations goes back really to university in a very personal way, because I had a friend at university whose great ancestor was a Scotsman called James Wiley. He was a doctor. And he had to flee Scotland at the end of the 18th century. I think he'd killed somebody in a duel. And he went to the new capital of the Russian Empire, St. Petersburg, to seek his fortune. And that's exactly what he did, because he became the personal physician to 3 Tsars. He did much good work in the military medical field. He's mentioned in Leo Tolstoy's War and Peace as the doctor on the battlefield at Borodino. And his statue still exists in St. Petersburg outside the hospital he helped to found. But reading about James Wiley, I became more and more interested in the Anglo-Russian community, which was a big one in 18th and 19th century Petersburg. Not perhaps the biggest, I think the Germans were bigger, but perhaps the most important. Merchants, industrialists, doctors, Scottish doctors, architects, soldiers, sailors, and the British Embassy books even list jockeys as among the British subjects in St. Petersburg. And the idea of creating a story in this community at the end of the 19th century and choosing a character, my Frederick Hadfield in To Kill A Tsar, began to crystallize. A man who speaks perfect Russian, thinks of St. Petersburg as home, was educated in England and at the university in Zurich, but comes back to St. Petersburg to make his living as a doctor. And he gets drawn into radical revolutionary circles and through love, right onto the fringes of the more extreme element, the terrorist group, the People's Will Narodnaya Volya, who in 1879 was formed and committed itself to the assassination of Tsar Alexander II. And standing here in the old Russian chapel where Tsar Alexander II worshipped in 1874, can't help thinking, what did he make of Britain? Constitutional monarch, representative democracy, the rule of law, freedom of press, freedom of speech, all the things that he wasn't prepared to countenance for his own subjects. And 7 years on from this place, that failure was what really led to his death.